Hello everyone, my name's Tom Peppard, I'm the Underground Metalhead, as you can tell from the channel name. Today, instead of talking about music recommendations and bands I think you should listen to, and just what I like in general, I'm going to be talking about going to gigs. Because obviously at some point in your life, if you're a fan of all this heavy music and stuff, you're going to want to go to a gig and watch it. I'm personally going to be talking more about going to underground gigs, so your pub gigs, your maybe the O2 Academy gigs. I'm not worried too much about talking about the arena and stadium gigs, but well and truly, once you know how they work, even the little ones, they almost work identically everywhere else. Everywhere's got their own little rules and whatnot, but as soon as you know what it's like for a little gig, you know what it's like for a big gig. So, to start things off, I'm just going to let you know about a couple gigs I've been to. My first ever gig was when I was 13 years old, I believe, and it was Tenacious D. I think it was in Birmingham, off the top of my head, but it was in like a nightclub style venue. I was 13 years old, so I had to go with my old man. But obviously then you're not really paying too much attention. You'll go and see a band which you're desperate for. You're with your old man, he's the one who's doing all the worrying and whatnot. But then you move on. My second gig was Slash with Miles Kennedy. This was a much bigger gig. I believe it was in the LG Arena, but I know it's not called the same anymore. But they do loads of different expos there. As a matter of fact, when I was in college, I went to the DJ Expo there, which is essentially Comic-Con, but for DJs. Which, I know, looking at me, I'm not exactly the type of person who you'd imagine being a DJ, but I know how to do it. The other thing, which is obviously worth a major mention, is underground gigs. Because not a lot of people go to underground gigs. It's one of the main things that I'm trying to push with my whole channel is you've got to go to underground gigs. Because the bands that are playing are the bands that are going to become the future one day. Even your local boys, one day they're eventually going to go on to play an arena. And heck, who knows, maybe they even go on to play a stadium one day. But you've got to go to the underground gigs. I go to at least one a week, most of the time. It could be a band I've never heard of. It could be a band which I've heard of and have seen thousands of times. One of the bands which I've seen a lot, and I highly suggest you go listen to them, is a band called Napier. Napier are local boys to me, and they play really heavy thrash metal, and they're just fantastic live. They're a great watch, and after the show they'll come and have a drink with you. They're normally bollocks, but you know, it's all fun and games really at the end of the day. So a couple things for gig advice, because that's obviously what the video's about, and I've just rambled on about myself for the first couple of minutes. So with gig advice, posters is the first thing. When you see a poster for an underground gig and you don't know any of the bands on there, look for bands up. Go on YouTube. Almost all of these bands have a YouTube channel, unless there's some obscure gore grind band. But if it's an old obscure gore grind band, you're not going to bother listening to them. You're just going to go watch them. Or you could just do what I do, and it's look at the poster, go, that's how much it costs, and go, no matter what band is playing. Another thing to mention about the posters is when it says £7 ADV, that means advance. So that means if you buy your ticket, it is cheaper to buy it beforehand than at the door. I know I'm teaching people how to suck eggs at the moment, but some people are genuinely just that thick. And you've got to mention it, otherwise someone one day is going to say, you never told me this. You're a little bullshitter, you are, sir. Look for bands up, see if you like them, and go. Even if you don't like one of the bands, but you still like a couple of them, I highly suggest going. Also, one thing which is majorly worth mentioning is it doesn't matter if you don't like the headline band. Like, all it matters is as long as you like one of the bands on the slot, you might as well go. Unless we're talking, you're going to see a big old stadium Slipknot gig purely because you want to see the opening band. I wouldn't worry about that. The opening band will have an arena, an academy gig, or I don't know how big they'd be really. They'd have an academy or arena gig. I'd go to that. The other thing with gigs, and they all work almost identically. Alright, if you are buying tickets on the door, please pay the person at the fucking table. Alright? But always by the door to the gig venue. Probably not with pubs, sometimes they're on like a stairwell. I know they are on the Griffin. In Cobblestones, you go out to the back into the Skittle Alley, there's always a table and there's someone sat there. Pay the fucker. Don't just like straggle by the door and wait for them to leave and then sneak your way on in, because you're just being a dick. There's no way for these venues to make money then. And if they can't make money, they can't put on bigger bands. And if they can't put on bigger bands, then you're just going to eventually lose that venue. You need to pay fuckers for what they do. Treat the staff nicely as well. Just because a staff member's asking you for a £5 for a gig ticket to see a band no one's ever heard of, pay them, because that isn't a £5 for you to see the music. That's a £5 for you to see the music, for you to pay the staff, for you to pay for the sound engineering, for you to pay for basically the hall, the venue, the landlord, the experience as well in general. Oh, it's not a good time to cough, especially during this whole lockdown situation, but there you go, I've got a fresh cut. The other thing which is worth a mention, if you do want to buy your tickets in advance, 100% go for it, definitely. I personally, whenever I buy a ticket in advance, it's got to be a ticket that's normally £12 or more, and I'm always putting on that protection. The protection's only an extra £1, but well and truly, if you spend £1 for the chance to get £12 back, you might as well spend that extra £1. Also, get email tickets, because getting tickets sent to you, as fun as it is pointless. Get email tickets, you can print it off yourself, you're saving literally £2, and a lot of the time they charge you stupid money for fucking sending gigs tickets anyhow. I mean, I know one I bought recently was a ticket to see Mayhem up at the Fleece in Bristol, and they actually were charging you to have email tickets and to have tickets sent to you, so you could either pick to have a ticket emailed or a ticket sent, and it was cheaper to get it sent to you like in the post than it was to get it emailed, and that just made literally no sense to me whatsoever. What else is there to mention about going to gigs? Going to gigs with people. Now, loads of people will not go to a gig because they've got no one to go with. Let's face it, we're all smelly, drunk metalheads. No one ever wants to be seen around us. You might as well go to a gig by yourself. If you want to go watch some music, you go watch some music. If you go to the venue enough, you eventually end up making friends there. When you make friends there, those are the people who will go to gigs with you, and you don't even need to ask them if they're going to go. They will be there. I mean, I've personally only really been going to this venue in Bridgewater Cobblestones for about 2 years now, and I go there an absolute shit ton, and I could name almost half of the people in there, because we just end up making friends. And then because I go there, I end up meeting the bands, I end up talking to the bands, and you end up going, you follow the bands to another venue, which is how I know about this venue in Yeovil called the Railway Hotel, because one of the bands I like called Brave Ones, who actually played just before this Airborne song, pardon me, one of the bands called Brave Ones play there a lot, and they're free shows. So I follow them, you end up making friends there, and as soon as you make friends there, you end up making friends on Facebook. Then you don't even need to look for gigs you want to go to. Their pub landlords will invite you to the gigs. Oh god, I'm trying to think of what else there was to say. If you are going to a gig alone, alright, like it is obviously going to be nerve-wracking, especially if you're young, like I want to say like myself. I mean, I'm 20 years old. If I go to a gig and I know no one there, I get, you do get quite nervous. But at the end of the day, you're not going to you're not going to a gig just to get pissed with all your mates. A lot of the time, if you want to go to a gig alone, you're going to a gig because you want to watch the music. I mean, granted, I do go to some gigs where I'm just going to get pissed with my mates. Napier gigs. You go, you get pissed, you listen to the music, you go, oh, that was something. and you go home, you know. But if you're going to a gig, alright, don't be afraid, you know. Pay the person, get in, go to the gig. If you are scared of mosh pits, which is the next big one, I know some people. I personally, I was like it myself. I'd see a video live online of it's always the Lamb of God mosh pit where it's a wall of death and they all run into each other, and you always watch it and go, God fucking hell, I really, really want to be in that. That sounds amazing. And then you go to a gig, all of a sudden one person pushes another. They start going all over the place. The whole fucking pit opens up, and I mean this happens in underground gigs as well. It's just, if you don't want to be a part of it, do not go in the middle. Stick to the edges. Sometimes the front's alright, but then you get the crowd surfers and all them hideous bunch. The back's also fine, but you don't really want to be at the back. Stick to a side. That's the best bit of advice I can give if you don't want to go into mosh pits. I've hit the stage now where I just go into them because you might as well. It's another bit of the experience, you know. If you're gonna go and have some fun, you might as well do the whole caboodle. Cool. I'm trying to think of what else to do. If you've never been to a gig before, do not just go to a random shit gig. Because otherwise you'll go to a shit gig, you're risking it being really shit or good, and then it might put you off going ever again. If you're going to a gig, make sure it's for a band you like. I mean, at the time, my first gig was with my favourite band at the time, which was Tenacious D. You go, you get hooked, and I've just had to re-pull a Reggie. Hold on a second. I'm not going to edit this out. I'm going to keep it in because I want people to experience it. I want people to experience me pulling a Reggie out. Yeah. I mean, like, literally my first 3 gigs were Tenacious D, Slash and Miles Kennedy, and I believe after that it was Fish. But yeah, it was Fish, because after that, then I went to Airborne, and then I went to Airborne again, and then I started going to all these different underground gigs, and then Airborne again, and then Airborne again, and then... But yeah, go to a gig for a band you want to see if it's your first gig, and then after that, buy a ticket to a local underground gig. There's bound to be one close to you. If you're in Bridgewater, your gig is Cobblestones. If you're in Yeovil, your gig is the Railway Hotel. If you're in Bristol, you're a fucking lucky bastard. You've got 3 to choose from. 3 underground ones to choose from. Which is the Griffin, the Fleece, and the Exchange. The Fleece is mainly bigger gigs. The Griffin is my ideal place to go to because that is your underground gore grind gigs. They do some fucking brutal ones there. And funny enough, the chap who does the sound design is the same chap who is the frontman of the shirt I'm wearing. And it's oh. Alright, Mr. Phone, you can calm down. I'm actually speaking to you. So that's basically all you have to ask about gigs. If you do have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, because I don't want to say I'm a veteran in it. But I just know what I've been to enough now, and I've not been to a gig in ages. I need to speak to some fucking other people. Anyhow, if you've liked this, then please like and subscribe. If you found it helpful, leave a comment. If you think my double chin looks really, really thick in this, then you've got a dislike. So I'm hoping to get at least, no dislikes, but I know for a fact that it is looking quite thick. Anyhow, thank you.